I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, as I prepared to shatter the illusion of our perfect family life. The room was abuzz with laughter and warm conversations, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside me. "Nathan," I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil. "Leah, I have something to say." My husband, Nathan, turned to me, his smile fading as he noticed the seriousness in my tone. Leah, my sister-in-law, gave me a curious look, her hand resting unconsciously on her slightly protruding belly. "What's wrong, Ava?" Nathan asked, concern etching his features. The room quieted down, all eyes on us. I took a deep breath, the weight of my next words feeling like a boulder on my chest. "Why should we contribute to buying a new house for you, Nathan, when the baby Leah is carrying is yours?" I said, the words slicing through the room like a blade. A collective gasp echoed through the space. Leah's face drained of color, and Nathan's expression crumbled into one of shock and disbelief. "Ava, what are you talking about?" Nathan stammered, his eyes darting between me and Leah. "I'm talking about the affair you two have been having right under our noses," I continued, my voice unwavering. "This is nonsense," Leah interjected quickly, her voice shaky. "Ava, you're mistaken." But I was not mistaken. For months, I had been collecting evidence, piecing together their lies. I knew about their secret meetings, the late-night texts, and the clandestine rendezvous. It was time for their deceit to be brought into the light. "You can deny it all you want, but I have proof," I said firmly. Nathan's face was a mix of guilt and fear. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The relatives who had been enjoying a pleasant family gathering just moments ago now looked on in stunned silence. "Ethan," I called out, turning to the doorway. My brother Ethan stepped into the room, his phone in his hand. He didn't look surprised. He had been part of my plan from the start. "Ethan?" Nathan's voice was barely a whisper. Ethan didn't respond to Nathan. Instead, he looked at me, nodding slightly. I gave him a small nod in return, a silent thank you for his support. "Ethan has been helping me gather evidence of your affair," I explained to the room. "We have everything we need to prove it." Nathan's face fell, and Leah's hands trembled visibly. The truth was out, and there was no going back. The room was silent, the tension palpable. I could feel the eyes of our relatives on me, their expressions a mix of shock, pity, and anger. I turned to Nathan, my voice cold and devoid of any emotion. "We're done, Nathan. I want a divorce." Nathan looked like he had been punched in the stomach. He reached out to me, but I stepped back out of his reach. "This is the end," I said, my voice firm. "I won't be part of this lie any longer." With that, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving Nathan, Leah, and the stunned relatives behind. I had taken the first step towards freeing myself from their betrayal, and I felt a small sense of relief amidst the pain and anger. The road ahead would be difficult, but I was ready to face it head-on. Sitting alone in my quiet apartment, the echoes of last night's confrontation still rang in my ears. I had always believed in the sanctity of family, a belief instilled in me since childhood. Our family, known for its real estate empire, was more than just wealthy. We were a symbol of unity and hard work. I grew up understanding the value of responsibility and dedication. My parents, though stern, were fair, and they had handed down their ethics to me. They entrusted me with the management of our properties, a task I embraced with open arms. It was during this time of professional growth that my parents introduced me to Nathan. "Nathan's mature, successful, just what you need," my mother had said, her eyes twinkling with what I now realized was misplaced hope. We met at a family gathering, and his charisma was undeniable. "Ava, I've heard so much about you. It's an honor," Nathan had said, his voice smooth and confident. I was taken by his charm and intelligence, a man who seemed to embody the ideals I valued. Our courtship was a whirlwind of romance and promises. When he proposed, it felt like a fairy tale. I had no reason to doubt his love or his loyalty. "Nathan, I want to build something real with you. A partnership," I had said on our wedding day, my heart full of hope and love. But last night's revelation shattered everything. The images of Nathan and Leah together, laughing and sharing intimate moments, were like daggers to my heart. Ethan had been my rock, supporting me as I pieced together the evidence of Nathan's betrayal. "Ava, I'm here for you. Whatever you need," Ethan had assured me, his voice steady and reassuring. As I sat there, lost in my thoughts, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Leah. Ava, please, we need to talk. This is a misunderstanding, it read. Misunderstanding? The audacity of her words made my blood boil. I typed a quick reply, my fingers trembling with anger. There's nothing to talk about. Stay away from me. I knew what I had to do next. I needed to secure my assets and protect my future. The family business was my life's work, and I refused to let Nathan's deceit ruin it. I called my lawyer, setting up an appointment to discuss the divorce and asset protection. I won't let him take anything from me, I said firmly, my resolve strengthening. As I prepared for the legal battle ahead, I couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. The man I had loved and trusted had been a facade. But I knew I was strong, and I was determined to come out of this stronger than ever. Ava, you're a force to be reckoned with, Ethan had once told me. His words echoed in my mind, giving me the strength I needed. I was ready to fight for my dignity and my future. Nathan and Leah had underestimated me, and they would soon realize their mistake. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of my office, casting long shadows across the floor. It had been a week since I declared my intention to divorce Nathan, and every day since had been a whirlwind of emotions and legal preparations. Ethan arrived, carrying a folder thick with papers and photos. I got more proof, Ava, he said, placing the folder on my desk. I opened it, my eyes scanning the contents. There were pictures of Nathan and Leah together, receipts from their clandestine dinners, and even excerpts from their text messages. It was more than enough to prove their affair. Why Nathan? Why her? I muttered, feeling a fresh wave of anger. Ava, you're better off without him, Ethan replied, his voice soothing. He doesn't deserve you. We spent the morning reviewing the evidence, building a solid case for the divorce proceedings. I felt a bitter satisfaction knowing that Nathan's betrayal would be exposed for all to see. Later that day, I had a meeting with my lawyer. With this evidence, we can ensure a favorable divorce settlement for you, he assured me. I nodded, feeling a sense of control returning to my life. Nathan had betrayed me, but I would not let him destroy me. As I left the lawyer's office, my phone rang. It was Leah. Ava, please, let's talk. I can explain everything, she pleaded. Explain. You betrayed me, Leah. There's nothing to explain, I snapped, my voice cold and unyielding. Ava, it's not what you think. I never meant to hurt you, Leah continued, desperation in her voice. I cut her off. Save it for someone who cares, Leah. You're nothing to me now. I ended the call, feeling a surge of empowerment. I was done being the victim. It was time for Nathan and Leah to face the consequences of their actions. The rest of the week passed in a blur of meetings and preparations. I was determined to protect my assets and my future. Nathan had been a part of my life, but I would not let his betrayal define me. The day of the divorce hearing arrived. I walked into the courtroom, my head held high. Nathan was already there, looking pale and anxious. Leah was not present, but her absence did nothing to lessen my resolve. The judge reviewed the evidence, his expression stern. Mr. Nathan, it seems you have been less than faithful to your wife, he said, his voice laced with disapproval. Nathan remained silent, his eyes fixed on the floor. The hearing proceeded, and my lawyer presented our case with precision and clarity. I watched Nathan, seeing the man I once loved crumble under the weight of his own deceit. The judge granted me a favorable divorce settlement, including a significant portion of our joint assets. Nathan tried to speak to me after the hearing, but I ignored him, walking away without a backward glance. I had won the legal battle, but the emotional scars remained. I knew it would take time to heal, but I was ready to move forward, away from the pain and betrayal. Ethan was waiting for me outside the courtroom. You did it, Ava. You stood up for yourself, he said, pride evident in his voice. I smiled, feeling a sense of relief. Thanks to you, Ethan. I couldn't have done it without you. As we walked out of the courthouse, I felt a sense of closure. Nathan and Leah's betrayal had hurt me, but it had also made me stronger. I was ready to rebuild my life, on my terms. The once harmonious family dinners were now a battlefield, a place where hidden truths and veiled insults were exchanged like passing dishes. I sat at the head of the table, a position I had earned through my relentless pursuit of justice. Across from me sat Nathan, his eyes avoiding mine, and beside him, Leah, her presence a constant reminder of their betrayal. I had invited them under the pretense of a peaceful dinner, a chance to clear the air. But my true intention was to expose them further, to strip away any sympathy our relatives might still harbor for them. As you all know, Nathan and I are officially divorced, I began, my voice steady. The room fell silent, all eyes on me. But what you may not know is the reason why. Nathan shifted uncomfortably in his seat, while Leah kept her gaze fixed on her plate. The reason, I continued, is Leah. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. I watched as relatives turned to look at Leah, their expressions a mix of shock and disgust. Ava, that's enough, Nathan finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. No, Nathan, it's not enough. Not until everyone knows the truth, I shot back, my voice rising. Leah's face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. Ava, please, let's not do this here, she pleaded. Why not, Leah? Afraid of facing the consequences of your actions? I asked, my tone dripping with scorn. The tension in the room was palpable. Relatives who had once treated Leah with affection now looked at her with contempt. Nathan, once a respected member of the family, was now seen as a pariah. Our family built its reputation on trust and loyalty, I continued, my gaze sweeping across the room. But Nathan and Leah have shown they have neither. Nathan stood up abruptly, knocking his chair back. I'm sorry, Ava. I never meant for things to go this far, he said, his voice breaking. Sorry doesn't undo the betrayal, Nathan, I replied coldly. Leah stood up too, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Ava. I never wanted to hurt you, she sobbed. I looked at her, my heart hardening against her tears. You should have thought about that before you started an affair with my husband. The room was silent, except for Leah's sobs. I watched as the family I once cherished turned their backs on me, on us. They left the house one by one, their parting glances filled with a mix of pity and disdain. Nathan and Leah were the last to leave. As they walked out the door, I felt a sense of triumph mixed with sorrow. I had exposed their deceit. But at what cost? The house was empty now, the silence a stark contrast to the chaos of moments before. I sat alone at the table, the weight of my actions settling in. Ethan came to my side, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. You did what you had to do, Ava, he said softly. I nodded, knowing he was right. But as I looked around the empty room, I couldn't help but wonder if my quest for revenge had cost me more than just my marriage. The following weeks were a blur of change and adjustment. My once vibrant social life had quieted, many choosing to distance themselves from the scandal that now surrounded my name. However, my focus was unwavering. I had turned my attention fully to the family business, ensuring it thrived despite the personal turmoil. One afternoon, as I was reviewing property reports, Ethan stopped by my office. You're doing great, Ava. The business is flourishing under your leadership, he said, offering a supportive smile. I have to. It's all I have left now, I replied, my tone a mix of determination and sadness. Ethan hesitated before speaking. Nathan, he's struggling. The divorce and the fallout, it hit him hard. I paused, processing his words. A part of me felt vindicated, knowing Nathan was facing the consequences of his actions. Yet a tiny buried part of me ached. He made his choice, Ethan. He has to live with it. Ethan nodded, understanding my position. And Leah? I sighed, feeling a surge of bitterness. She tried to reach out, wanted to explain things. I don't care to hear her excuses. Ethan placed a hand on my shoulder. You're handling all this remarkably well. As he left, I turned back to my work, pushing aside the lingering emotions. My life had taken a drastic turn, but I was adapting, finding strength in my independence. A few days later, I received a call that Leah was in the hospital. Apparently, the stress had taken a toll on her health. I hesitated, then decided to visit, not out of sympathy, but out of a need for closure. At the hospital, I found Leah in her room, looking frail and alone. Our eyes met, and for a moment there was a silent acknowledgement of all that had transpired between us. Ava, I'm sorry, Leah whispered, her voice weak. I came here not to forgive you, Leah, but to tell you that your actions have consequences. You've lost your family, your friends, and now your health. I hope it was worth it, I said, my voice steady but void of warmth. Leah looked away, tears streaming down her face. I never meant for any of this to happen. That's the thing about choices, Leah. We don't always mean for things to happen, but they do. And we have to live with them, I replied, feeling a finality in my words. I left the hospital with a heavy heart. There was no joy in seeing Leah broken like this. It was a stark reminder of how much had been lost because of their betrayal. In the following weeks, I threw myself into work, finding solace in the routine and success of my endeavors. The business was thriving, and I was finally finding a semblance of peace. Then came the news that Nathan had left town. He had lost his job, his friends, and now it seemed his will to stay. I heard he was moving back with his parents, trying to start over. A part of me wished him well, while another part felt he was merely reaping what he had sown. Ethan called me one evening. "Ava, you're doing amazingly. Don't let the past hold you back. You've got a bright future ahead." His words were a balm to my soul. I had survived the storm, and now it was time to rebuild. Months had passed since the divorce, and the once stifling atmosphere of betrayal and hurt had begun to clear, giving way to a sense of renewal. My days were filled with managing the family business, which flourished more than ever, reflecting my newfound vigor and dedication. One late afternoon, as I was finalizing some contracts, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ethan. "Dinner tonight? I've got news." Curiosity piqued, I agreed. Ethan had become more than just a supportive brother throughout this ordeal. He was my confidant, my pillar. We met at a quaint restaurant downtown, a place far removed from the prying eyes of our social circles. "You look good, Ava." "Really good," Ethan said, his eyes reflecting genuine pride. "Thanks, Ethan. I feel good, surprisingly." "So what's this news?" I asked, sipping my wine. "It's about Leah. She's left town, moved to start over somewhere else," Ethan revealed. I paused, processing this new information. Leah's departure marked the end of a chapter, a final severing of what once was. "I hope she finds what she's looking for," I said, surprising even myself with the sincerity in my voice. Ethan nodded, then shifted the topic. "There's more. Nathan, he's reached out to me. He's struggling, Ava. He's lost a lot." I felt a twinge of something. Not quite sadness, not quite satisfaction. "Nathan made his choices, Ethan. He's living with the consequences, just as we all are." Ethan agreed, but there was a hint of concern in his eyes. "Just thought you should know." The conversation drifted to other topics, and as the evening wore on, I felt a sense of contentment. My life had taken unexpected turns, but here I was, stronger and more resilient. The following week brought an unexpected encounter. I was at a charity event, one of my first public appearances since the divorce, when I noticed a familiar face across the room. It was Nathan. Our eyes met, and for a moment time stood still. Then he approached, his steps hesitant. "Ava, I wanted to say I'm sorry. Truly sorry," Nathan said, his voice tinged with regret. I looked at him, seeing the man I once loved, now a shadow of his former self. "Your apology is noted, Nathan, but it changes nothing." "I know. I needed you to know that," he replied, his eyes searching mine for something. Forgiveness, understanding, perhaps both. I nodded, a polite but firm end to our exchange. "I wish you well, Nathan." As he walked away, I felt a chapter close, a finality to our shared story. It was time to move forward, to embrace the life that awaited me. Ethan joined me later, offering a comforting smile. "You handled that well." "I'm learning to let go, Ethan. Letting go of the anger, the hurt. It's time to look ahead," I said, feeling a sense of liberation. In the weeks that followed, I immersed myself in new projects and social engagements. My world, which had once revolved around Nathan, now expanded, filled with new opportunities and experiences. I began to feel a sense of excitement for the future, a future I was now free to shape on my own terms. The pain of the past was slowly healing, replaced by a newfound strength and optimism. Ethan's words from our dinner echoed in my mind. "You've got a bright future ahead." He was right. The future was mine to seize, and I was ready to embrace it with open arms. The seasons changed, and with them, so did my life. The family business was thriving, and I had found a sense of peace and purpose that had eluded me for so long. But it was during a charity gala, under the shimmering lights and among the chatter of the city's elite, that the final piece of my new life fell into place. As I navigated through the crowd, a familiar figure caught my eye. It was Nathan. He was thinner, his eyes lacking the spark they once had. Beside him was Leah, her presence a stark reminder of the past. They didn't see me, lost in their own world of regret and what could have beens. I watched them for a moment, feeling a surge of mixed emotions. There was a time when the sight of them would have ignited anger in my heart. Now there was only a distant pity and a profound sense of detachment. "Ethan was right," I whispered to myself. It's time to close this chapter for good. Turning away from Nathan and Leah, I found myself face to face with Michael, a fellow entrepreneur I had met several times at business events. His warm smile was a welcome contrast to the coldness I felt moments ago. "Ava, it's great to see you here. You're looking radiant as ever," Michael said, his eyes genuine. "Thank you, Michael. It's nice to see a friendly face," I replied, feeling a lightness in my heart. We spent the evening talking, laughing, and sharing stories. Michael's company was easy and refreshing, a reminder that life still had so much to offer. As the night drew to a close, Michael hesitated before speaking. "Ava, would you like to have dinner with me sometime? Just the two of us?" His invitation took me by surprise, but it was a pleasant one. "I'd like that, Michael," I said, my heart fluttering with a hint of excitement. Walking home that night, I felt a sense of completeness. I had faced my demons, conquered them, and emerged stronger. The pain Nathan and Leah caused was now just a distant memory, a lesson learned in the harsh classroom of life. In the weeks that followed, Michael and I grew closer. He was kind, thoughtful, and respectful. Everything Nathan wasn't. With each date, each laugh, each shared moment, I felt myself opening up, ready to embrace love once again. One evening, as we walked along the river, Michael stopped and turned to me. "Ava, I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I want you to be a part of it." I looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity and hope reflected in them. "I want that too, Michael." It was a new beginning, a chance to write a story where I was no longer a victim, but the author of my own destiny. As autumn turned to winter, I found myself reflecting on the journey I had been through. The pain, the betrayal, the revenge, it had all led me to this moment, to a chance at true happiness. I realized then that the best revenge was not in causing pain to those who wronged me, but in finding my own peace and joy. Nathan and Leah were a part of my past, but they would not define my future. Standing beside Michael, looking out over the city that had witnessed my lowest and highest moments, I knew one thing for certain: I was finally free.